I'm here till Thursday. Thanks for the claps. Thanks, everyone. We've got an audience. Love audience.
Cool.
All right. Welcome to Wealth Cartel Legends, where we talk about how hindsight is a motherfucker.
Our mission, guys, is to stop people saying, I wish I had listened, and to help people to capitalise on everyone else's mistakes before making them yourself.
Yeah, in summary, our tagline says it all. Turn our hindsight into your foresight so you don't have to make the same mistakes that we did.
That's a $20 fucking glass of scotch because they wouldn't let us have a shot. We're actually at Bella Vista Hotel, guys, by the way. We should give them a shout out there.
We do tag them. Yeah, Bella Vista Hotel shout out. We should put in our intro, actually.
Yeah, they're letting us recording here for free. We need to fix the lighting, but other than that, we're pretty good. So 2 of the Wealth Cartel, Echo and Kingy. Today we've got Ryan King, one half of the Wealth Cartel, and the owner of Three Kings Finance. We're going to get into a little bit about him. So, Ryan, who are you?
Well, I'm 28. I like long walks on the beach. No, I'm 28. Just a fella that grew up in between Mount Druitt and Woy.
That's a big in between.
Yeah, it's a big train line.
It's a big line.
So their parents. I was born out west, born in Westmead, the Parramatta district. Grew up that way, and then as I got a bit older, Dad grew up and raised Edmonton, and the old girl decided to move up the Central Coast, and I thought that'd be a nice change, but it ended up just being out Druitt on the beach, so it was good.
Yeah, sitting on the beach, eh?
Yeah, city by the beach.
Stand up, my brother.
I did that, and then...
Listen to me, I'm going to stop you.
What?
Get that fucking chewing gum out, because you're chewing in my ear. He doesn't smoke, right, this fuckhead, and he's got some... Look at this. Nicotine. He chews nicotine because it's like a V in a tablet. We're supposed to be helping young kids. We're teaching them to get addicted to nicotine on our show.
You can be addicted to worse things.
I suppose. Alrighty. So I stopped you, but I'm going to let you keep going. So you're from Edmonton. You then moved up the coast.
Well, I wasn't from... Dad's from Edmonton. I grew up in the Quakers Hill area, living between Mum and Dad. Dad was in Edmonton, and then Mum moved up the coast, which Mum had made my majority custody of me. I'd spend my weekends down in the Drew, down in Mountain County. So, grew up, went to school at your minor and Woy, 2 of the best. And it was pretty funny because I grew up, Mount Druitt was pretty tough back then. They had a bit of a reputation. I thought, and Mum wanted to get away from it. And I remember one of the first times I went up to the Central Coast and started hearing about people and their elders getting in shootouts and shit, and I was like, holy shit, what have I done?
I remember, bro, when I first went to the coast. Well, I've got family on the coast too, but my cousin lives at Gorican, Campbell.
Yeah, that's my grandma.
And I went up there, and I had, I was fully niked out, Nike shoes, my tracksuit, right? And there was this dude, he's a big ranger, his name was Red, and fucking, I walked in, I had a peanut butter sandwich, I had a knife, and he goes, oh, don't fucking stab me. And they used to hammer me about wearing Nikes and TNs. They used to fucking, hey, what's going on now?
But I was the cool kid down in Sydney. And then when we went up there, I had a ratty in my earpiece. In Sydney, that was the thing. We were doing it. I'm playing footy for Parramatta juniors and real juniors, and we got ratties. I rock up to Central Coast for ratty, and everyone's calling me all kinds of names. I remember getting a fight the first day at my primary school. Didn't know how to fight, but I got in one. And over the ratty, and then about 3 years later, everyone started rocking the ratty.
It's bad now. Down here, we're clean skins now. We're down here, everyone's dressed in men, and everyone's in the business clothes, and we're I'm wearing fucking R.M. Williams and tight jeans and a skivvy, and this Central Coast is still rocking the TNs, laughing at me. I've been wearing them 20 years.
And it's funny. I was wearing Kayanos. Kayanos are the first running shoe Dad ever bought me, and I've been wearing Kayanos my whole life. And then now they're becoming a fashion shoe.
Oh, they were a fashion, but
if you were from fucking Park Lee.
Well, nah. I remember my uncle growing up, man. They were a fashion. But it was
fashionable
not,
to run.
But it was not fashionable. There was Metros, and then there was the lads, and they were the lads were real. But everyone rocks Asics now. The Metros wear Asics, bro.
Yeah, I love it.
You got blokes with dyed blonde fringes wearing Wrangler jumpers and fucking Asics shoes. You know what I mean? They are comfy. They're the comfiest ever. I like the Sendays. I'm a Senday. Or Kinsdays, I'm all right.
Well, enough about the shoes. So then, I grew up. Then Mum moved up to the coast, and I went with her. did my trips back and forth, and just did the thing. I was a pretty smart kid, pretty good, and until I got corrupted towards the back end of my high school, and I ended up pretty much ditching. I was supposed to be a marine biologist, supposed to do a double major in marine biology and something else, but I ended up ditching it because a couple of my mates, I was just the nerd jock, you know what I mean? Like I was a footy player, played all sports, and I was a swimmer. That was my thing. So I played all sports, but I was smart, so I hung out with all the jocks as a smart kid. So when we got to the HSC, they wanted me to put some cheat sheet in the toilet for them, which I did. I didn't use it.
You get pinched.
I got pinched, and I got. So how's this, right?
You're telling me in the last episode I was ratting on myself. You just ratted on yourself.
No, I got fully done. And then I copped it. So my mates got like 10, 12% overall. That was their mark with the cheat sheet. I got 87%, and I copped the rap. So I got 0% for and the teachers knew I didn't cheat. They knew I put it in there, but they knew you couldn't get the mark I got with cheating.
So how did you get the cheat sheet? Or
they gave it to me. They said, look, I was going, my toilet anything. Right, I got to go to the toilet. Before the test, I had to go to the toilet, and the boy said, oh, can you chuck this in the toilet for me? I said, yeah, no stress. Stuck it in there. And then someone saw me do it, and then they ratted on me, and then I didn't roll on the boys. So I went from being top 5, top 10 for my HSC year to 0. So me and the boys, and I just never went to school again. Surfed, fished every day, and then I joined the army.
Did you was it an ATAR when you were at school?
Nah, HSC.
Yeah, but was it?
It was
UAI, yeah. UAI.
Yeah.
So half your luck making it the year 12 champion.
I still passed. I still got 67%. So in my HSC, so I'm not too bad. I got a 67 UAI.
I always wonder what if. I just wish I got to sit that test.
I don't.
Yeah, just so I know. I don't know, like not that it's ever going to do anything for me, just so I know. But because I got real good marks in my year 10, but year 11 and 12 were real different to year 10. Like you actually had to go on with it, Like you had to.
I had a crack year 11 and 12 until that point. Up until then, I was just fucking around, really. So I did all the big, I did chemistry, fucking biology, advanced maths, all the nerdy shit. Because I was good commerce.
I liked commerce.
I didn't do commerce.
I wanted to, but see, I was so intrigued by the law, but I don't know whether it was for the right reasons. I wanted to know how to get away. Anyway, alrighty. So we've gone into who you are. We've chatted a little bit earlier into our intro about where you're from, but let's get into that. Where are you from? Ideally, where is it that you grew up and that you sort of made something of yourself?
Yeah, so I definitely say I'm a Central Coast boy, but I do rep the West. I always say from the 2-7 to the 2-2. That's sort of how I rolled.
Half your mates wouldn't even know the denominator in between the 2-7.
The 2-7 to the 2-2, now back to the 2-7. That's what I like. But no, so I grew up. I was born Westmead Hospital. Grew up living at Quakers Hill, and like I said, mum and dad split up real early on in my life. So my whole King family, raised in Edmonton, born and raised in Edmonton. They lived out there pretty much their whole life. So split up between Quakers Hill, Wenny, and Edmonton really. And then when I was 10, I played footy out that way, and I played for the Maggies. Played for Magpies, my junior club. And then and mum decided to move up to the coast, and we moved up to Empire Bay. And I went to school at Umira and Woolwee, and I grew up there. But every weekend or every second weekend was on the train back down to Mount.
You played footy on the coast?
No, I didn't. Apart from school, because I was a swimmer, and I had to go away on the weekends for my swim comps and stuff. So
good comp on the coast, though. Best footy I played.
Yeah, I played from 16 onwards, like for Woolwee. So I played rugby union for Woolwee Lions. I
was playing A grade down here, and I went up there, and I was saying to my cousin, I've moved up.
Yeah.
I'll fucking walk into this side.
Yeah.
To Wyong, and went down to the run. I was like, fuck me, there was like 60 blokes there having. I was thinking, fuck, they're gonna have 4 A grade sides.
Because I went up. I played for Wenny. So I was about 10. I played, and like you're 10 years old, but it's like down here when you're 10 years old, you're playing against guys that look 38, right? Like the big Islanders, and that was your biggest issue down here. So I was carving up because I was quick. Right? I was a little 5'8" quick, and I was carving up. Me and this other kid, like 2 other kids. I thought I'd be a gun. I went up there and started playing for school. I barely made any teams at the start because they're not as big up there, but they're all quick and they're all
different.
Skillful.
It's different footy. It's I think it's a different. It's like you wonder what's in the milk, eh? Like I went to Hill Sports. We went up there to play Hunter Sports, right? And we got off the bus. Now we're getting off the bus at the same. I remember this the rest of my life. They were getting off the bus at the same time. We were like, well, I was playing open. They were getting off the bus. I was like, fuck, look at the size of them. It was their 15 side. And then the next thing you know, there's like 19 blokes getting off with beards. And I'm thinking, they look like cattle farmers, bro. They look like they were chasing sheep around, tackling them. And they give us a high. We'd never gone up there. We were a new sports school.
Yeah.
So we were a good public school side. And then you know what it's like. You go to private schools or sport, like it's a different kettle of, bro. We went up there. We had a cracker side, or we thought we had a cracker side, and we got flogged, bro. and I honestly thought, oh, it's just, you know, it's just the school. Like there must be people traveling or whatever, but it wasn't. The Central Coast, in my opinion, in New South Wales, that's the premium.
You reckon?
Fucking.
Because when we like, so I played for school. So I didn't play on the weekends until I was 16. I played on the weekends in Sydney. And I went up there. And I just played for school, and you know, in our teams we had like a Quiliwadi, Dylan Farrell. You know, we had some absolute guns, and Braden Williami was up there as well. They're all NRL players and stuff now. But I remember when we got to the point where we started playing Sydney sides again, and it changed because all the boys up there, like it was like Sydney was less skillful. I found like the Central Coast boys were more skillful than when we played against Sydney. They were just rough, man. They were just animals.
Well, they just wanted to hurt you.
Yeah.
But I think once you got past 16 or 17 and you turned 18, 19, there was a different type of pain because I experienced that as well. When you get whacked here, it's all, like it's one thing to get a shot put on you.
Yeah.
I found here it was blatantly, I just want to whack someone. Up there, you're getting twisted ankles and fucking elbows under the tackle.
Yeah.
There's a dude. I played footy. He was a mate growing up. Like I sort of played against him. He was a good footy player. Scott Hardigan, his name was, and he turned out to be a copper. But he
Nothing wrong with that.
So we were playing. I was playing against him. He was playing for Guildford, and I was playing for St. Pat's, and he was a Paddy's boy and went over to Guildford, and it was a trial game, right? And I remember, like, I thought we were all right, and he hit me, and I was like pulling down on him to try and he had his elbow that far in my throat. I thought he was going to fucking kill me. And I was like, I dead set remember thinking, what the fuck, we're mates. But they were the upper echelon, bro. Like I was all right, but these dudes, there was just certain people that you just knew were going to make it. Like Scotty had a real bad injury. He hurt his neck. He could never play footy again, but he was a freak. His brother, Matt, he's the coach for the #1 school in Queensland at the moment. Where they produce all the Brisbane players.
Yeah.
Doing a good job teaching him how to play footy, Matty, but you might want to keep him out of the papers. Or, and then their other brother, Adam, he was the coach of the Chicks Rooster side, but they were like a footy family. But they would never blatantly do something dirty, but if someone couldn't see it, I'm telling you, they'd rip your fucking ankle off. It just changed. I don't know. And the Central Coast was like that. That's what I felt. They didn't head higher in front of everyone because they knew it was silly.
They do now. Hey, McLean's, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. TJ.
Yeah.
TJ will cock his arm back from last week and then throw it. I'm telling you. Blake
waits for him to hit the deck and then go. Alrighty, we'll keep going.
So just to finish off where I was from. So we grew up the Central Coast, but then I joined the army, which then I moved up to Townsville. So I sort of made my childhood on the Central Coast, and coming back, I ended up moving to Londonderry, back out to the Riff, out that way before I joined the army, just for some labouring work and some lollipop work. And then, joined the army, went to Townsville, we moved to Brisbane, and then lo and behold, found my way back to St Mary's, and now we're out west, out Rouse Hill way. So when you moved to Townsville, that's when I met Gemma. That's when I met my wife in the army, and then we moved to Brizzy together. Love Brizzy, beautiful place.
So when you do have kids, your kid's gonna be half banana bender.
No, well,
you better get that kid in a fucking New South Wales jersey real quick.
No, she's a maroon. I've got a video on my Instagram actually. One year we went to the Origin together, and she was carrying on, and I threw a Blues jersey at her head, and she blew up because it wiped her makeup off right from the game. I didn't care. I said, we're on the train from St Mary's to the stadium, and I'm saying, I'm yelling at that, oh, I don't care. We're enemies today. You're not me missus. I hate ya. I'll throw hands if you win.
Too many beers on the way in. So you notice I'm on the coffees today. We're not having beers. I've got too much going on. So, all right. So I'll delve into that a little bit in regards to where you're from. So where's home? Like you've been around. You've lived in a few places in Sydney. You've been up up Townsville, which is obviously that's where home is for Jem. You've lived on the coast as well. You've been in the army. To you, where's home? Like, where do you call home?
For me, the Central Coast would be home. The Central Coast would be home, but I do have, the Central Coast has always been home. But I have this longing to live back out west as well. I've got, with everything that's going on, we're tossing up. There's three our future home where we want to live and stuff. We're tossing up between the coast, out at Penrith or Leonay, and up in Brizzy. We're tossing up those three options for our future because we love all three. But I'd say the Central Coast is my home, but I do have a soft spot for the west.
Penrith is booming though at the moment. Penrith is a place at the moment. I growing up, it was a place that I never wanted to go. Like I'm from Blacktown. I never heard good things about Penrith. It was just not a place you went. You got rolled. You went to Penrith. You got rolled on the train, bro. When I was young.
This sort of mean all these stuff about the trains. I've been like, I don't know. I was just a white kid traveling on the train, but I was probably just oblivious to it. But I never. Mount Druitt, get off of Mount Druitt was never an issue.
Well, neither was
Mount. Shop at Penrith every weekend.
To me, Mount Druitt was different to Penrith because I'm the same. I had family growing up there. I was born. I lived in Leopard's Park the first few years of my life. But Mount Druitt was where my mum was from. That's where my family are from. I had a connection to Mount Druitt, so it never scared me, that place. But Penrith, I don't know what it was. It was more hearsay. It was like when you're growing up, you go to Penrith. In the last few years, Penrith to me, that's a juggernaut, bro. Like there are.
Yeah, I love Penrith.
Yeah.
We looking at a few places on River Road. That's like down there between Penrith and Leonay, on the river there. That's great. That's beautiful.
We got like a lot of the boys we're connected up with now, like Carter's and Pino, and like you've got like the dude who owns nutrition stations from out there. You've got like there are a lot of really, really like young, successful entrepreneurs coming out of Penrith, and the best thing about it is, bro, G3 Gamble Fitness, like G3 Fitness, Matt Gamble, he's like on another level when it comes to that sort of stuff out there. He's starting a franchise now as well. Like you've got, and all those dudes, they all know each other and they all work together to increase their brands. They network really well.
Yeah, everyone always says Parramatta's the West City, like the West City, but I think everyone skipped Parramatta, and I think Penrith is the second hub.
Well, I think CBD wise, I've always thought we used to chat about this because I wanted to buy my mum's house in Seven Hills, and we used to talk about. I got taught this thing once, and it was called the core effect. And like say, the CBD was the core of the apple, and then the surrounding suburbs were the apple, right? And eventually, the core got bigger. So Parramatta was the outer, but it was becoming part of the core as the CBD spread. But I agree.
West of the CBD, but Penrith's become its own CBD because people are moving up to the Blue Mountains for affordability, and then there's Penrith is a hub enough that you can earn, like you can live a good, you can generate good wealth and a good job out of there. And
it used to be hard to get to Penrith. It used to take
Oh no, it used to be 100%.
Time wise,
now
it used to be. All right, so we'll keep going. Now we've done where. Let's get into the what. So what was life growing up for you? What did you take away from growing up that that helped you in your life, and what disadvantaged you? We'll touch base on a few different things. I'll let you sort of run with the segment, but mainly the main one here is what you wish you changed and who you wish you listened to. So I'll let you sort of get into it and just roll. But yeah, that's sort of the agenda.
Yeah. So I think I had the best. Like I didn't have a great upbringing in the way of wealth. I was fine. I wasn't. We talked about this in your one last week. I wasn't housing commission and anything like that, but I wore hand-me-downs. Mum was very conscious of costs, so we didn't do. I never travelled until I became an adult. I'd been in New Zealand once. Other than that, it was all just trips to Queensland every year to myself. I'd never left the country. So we, grew up well. I had clothes on my back, food. We had a nice house, or a semi-nice house, but it wasn't luxury. And we had to, every weekend was filled with chores, etc. But I had the best of both worlds. Where I got to live with Mum, who provided, and Mum was very future focused. She lived her life and spent money to focus on tomorrow. Her focus was pay off the mortgage, and look after tomorrow. Plan for the tomorrow. So we didn't do a lot in the today. But then I would go and see Dad, and Dad was the complete opposite. Dad was he'd wear all the brands. every time I saw him, he'd probably spend $1,000 a weekend on us. You know, we're living the life. But
That's what dads do.
That's what dads do.
That's
Yeah.
what dads do.
But you know, so I got all the brands. He did all. So it was always fun. It was all the cool stuff. But I did notice from an early age. You know, Dad didn't have a house. We were always in rentals. Didn't have the nicest car or anything like that. Like he was always wearing brands, and we do fun stuff. So it really shaped me into who I am today in the way of my thought process because I got to see both growing up.
You try to find the happy medium.
Yeah, that's right. That's sort of what built what we do. But I grew up. You know, we grew up. I guess, like I said, I didn't kill it. We weren't killing it as a kid, but I got to learn the best of those both worlds. And at school, I guess I started learning how to. Mum made me earn my own way. But I got a job at like 12. Like I started working at 12, but Mum made me earn my own
paper out, eh?
No, mine was the swim center, but I got on the paper. But I got I had to earn my way and I had to learn and like from a very young age, I got to. Mum used to give me options. Look, we can't buy everything you want. Do you want that toy or do you want cash? Right, and I remember the next thing we got is when did my mindset switch, and that was one of the things that changed. I remember one time I was probably like 10, 11 years old, and Mum gave me that option. It was between the cash and a toy. And, you know, that age where you just sort of getting towards the back end of toys.
I was bad at that age because my mum used to do that.
Yeah.
But I'd tell my mum I'd take the cash and I knew where the toy was, bro. I'd go back and get it myself without paying.
Yeah.
That's what I used to think, why I got to pick one? I just make the best of both of us. That's my mum. That's probably something we've got in common. My mum was very, I think in what we spoke about with Mylan last week, you were saying, you know, your mum was very conscious of what she spent and she was very future focused. My mum was a little bit different in the sense that she was very future focused for us and she wanted us to know that it wasn't okay to not own anything. Yeah. But my mum forgot to think about herself.
Yeah. I think, see, I grew up like the King side, like our dad's side of family, very, you meet the Kings, you know, very loud, very confident, bunch of salesmen, right? All Mormons, bunch of missionary salesmen, right? Not dad in the
really?
Yeah, Mormon family, yeah. So they're all real confident. They're great. They're brilliant Christmases because everyone's just telling you whatever they got going on. So it's pretty fun. But they're all they're very, don't take this wrong way, any of you that listen, but they're all very confident in themselves and their knowledge. And to be honest, a lot of them aren't really killing it. Like there's a couple of them doing pretty well and stuff, but that mentality, that whole family mentality of they know better sort of thing. And so I grew up constantly out that way, listening to people telling me what you should do.
From the jump, yeah.
You should have bought this. And now whether it was right or wrong, different. Whereas Mum, I don't think Mum was. I used the wrong term. Mum wasn't future focused. She never didn't invest or anything like that. She was just super conservative. She's the classic rainy day saver. She'd pay off the mortgage if an emergency comes. I need to be ready. But never. And now what I'm doing working with Mum now is trying to set her up for the future for retirement because people got to understand that the lesson I learned from Mum in that instance is saving is good, but not too much.
Let's touch on that because I had this conversation. I was away. I had to go up to Port Macquarie Monday. I stayed in Old Bar with my sister-in-law, and we were discussing. You know, they've sort of seen what B and I are doing, and they're like, you know what, fucking let's get involved. And like, you know, they wanted to have a chat about business, and they were saying, she was saying, you know, we've saved $50K, and I'm going to whack it on the house. And I was like, what are you going to do that for? She was like, well, it might save us 5 years. And I said, and I know we're going to differ on this view, but from what I do now, what you'd probably do, right, is you'd divide that money up somehow and you'd make everything even. With me, I'd be like, fuck that. I'm going to use that 50 to make money and then I'll be better off. I'll cut the 5 years off anyway. What's your advice to someone in that sense? Like you say, I save $50K. I come to you, I say, Ryan, I've got 50 grand. What do I do? Do I go slap it on the mortgage? Do I build a business? Where do I go? And I know it's going to differ from certain people, but what's your take on that? Or like, what would you do with your 50K?
No, so this is where we're wrong. This is a great part of the podcast. This will be one of the most valuable things anyone ever gets out of the podcast. And this is what I was getting at with what I learned between Mum and Dad and what makes my business what it is today and where you're wrong but right at the same time in the sense is people telling everyone what they should do based on their own experiences, right? Now, your sister-in-law, you're wrong in telling her she should do this because you don't know what her goals are, right? And this is where what I was saying before about the kings and my mum's side. Growing up, I had the kings telling me, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. And theoretically, they weren't wrong, but none of them were living their dream life. Then I had mum saying, no, you should be doing this, being conservative, but she wasn't living her dream life either. So what I took from it was everyone follows this advice from this cookie cutter approach of what somebody else has told them is going to make them happy without considering what makes them happy, right? So the biggest advice, the biggest thing that changed my life, what I started growing up and going is I was trying to find that balance, because for me, I wanted to make sure I was okay tomorrow, and most people do. I want to make sure I'm okay tomorrow, but enjoying today, right? I was in between where dad and mum were.
Yeah.
But then as I matured into this business especially, what I started learning was that's not even correct for some people. Like if you want to go and live on a beach as a bum the rest of your life, then why would that person need to invest if they don't need to, right? If your dream life is you need $100,000 a year, right? You need $100,000 a year to live your dream life for the rest of your life, and you won a $10 million lottery. A lot of people, what you're saying, what other people say, would go buy property, go buy a business. My advice would be go put it in a bank account for 1%, because that'll generate you $100,000 a year at no risk. What people have got to stop doing is listening to other people's advice that works for them rather than putting in play what works for what they want to do. You need to take that on, right? There is stuff that's better than nothing, but that's why that's what the financial education series I'm doing everything. My advice to people isn't buy property or get in early.
So let's go. Let's say I'm not asking you for advice. Let's say I want to delve into Ryan King. I don't want the financial advisor right now. What I want to know what you would do if I handed you 50K and said, "There's your 50K. You've got say I hand you $50,000 at the moment, right? What are your goals to do with that extra 50 if you could make it? Like, where would you be at? What would you do?"
Right now, that 50K I just pump back into my own business. Right now, if you look at every dollar you make, you need to make.
So you're, and this is where I'm at the moment. And I think that's where we disagree on lots of different stuff. And that's probably the best part about why we work together is because I think I'm right on most occasions. But as soon as I'm proven to be wrong, I'm very happy to take that on, right? Now with, so say for instance, with that 50, right? Now, your concept is to pump it back into 3 kids, which is your business. And this has changed a little bit now that we've got 9, but my process was I wanted to have 10 businesses. Like that was my goal, right? Now, I'm actually going to talk to you about another one. It just popped up this morning. I'll show you after. If it goes well, we'll announce it. I'm not going to buy it straight away. I need you.
All right.
But so my question to you is with the 50, right? And you're saying you pump it back into 3 kids.
I would.
So that's spending money to make money. Right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is where you're wrong and right at the same time. You're right for you, but you shouldn't be telling other people.
No, of course. But if they come to, say for instance,
my advice to people is find what you want to do and find the solution that's right that fits that, not the solution that makes you the most money or whatever. Figure out what you want to do and find the solution. That's the advice I wish I'd picked up early, because I tried to buy different stocks. I was gambling. I was working, doing these things because everyone else, my whole life, which everyone does. I grew up at the first part of your life, you're listening to the people around you. But I was listening to what they'd wish they'd done.
Yeah, but sometimes I think too, what you do is you listen to what you want to hear, and then the real valuable stuff, like say for instance, you said to someone, do what you want to do at 18. What they want to do at 18 is fuck.
No, but not what they want to do, right? This is what I'm saying is, what you want to do, what I want to do right now is completely different to what I'm doing. But what
yeah, right. You got ya.
But what I'm doing,
calm down, mate. Fucking hell, G-rated.
But what I'm doing finds that balance between happiness and planning for tomorrow, right? If I want to do what I really want to do right now, I wouldn't have it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I found that balance. Now, so what I wish I'd figured out, I spent 10 years listening to everyone else, making my own mistakes with shit that was too risky, right? And I talk about this time. I took too much risk for the reward. I wish, and it's boring, it sounds boring, but I wish I started with my fundamentals and my foundation, my budgeting, my goals planning and stuff before I started working, like at that 19, 20.
Yeah.
And I just started, because the 10 years between then and now, that could, and people think by risk planning, I did an episode on this yesterday, but people think by risk planning you're taking money away from what you could be investing, but you're actually making more because when you put in buffers and you risk, if I can, if you can not risk as much, right? If you can make sure that your fundamentals and your budget, your cash flow, all that stuff's secured and everything, your worst case scenarios are looked after, it actually means you can take more risk in the things you want to take risk in. If my downside, like what I've done with you, right? If your worst case scenarios are protected, you can take more risk in your business because if it fails, you've still got to stop. You've still got to stop loss, right? That's the stuff that I wish I'd learned earlier because I was taking risks that I couldn't afford.
So my question to that is, and this is where I'm sure people will ask this question of us. So we asked last week, and this is where it gets hard, right? Is like we spoke about last week is, listen to people that are close to you because it's hard. It's a hard conversation because last week we were like, listen to your mum, listen to your dad, listen to everyone that's trying to help you. And this week we're saying not everything's right. Now that's where people are going to go, well, fuck, what are you cunts trying to say? But I think what you're trying to get at is what I'm taking away from it is not all advice is good advice, but there are going to be times and people in there that actually want to help you, and those people more often than not are not always more often than not they're not always going to be right, but they're the ones eventually that you're going to.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to say though is across the series, like we're trying to collate a list of across every episode, we're trying to collate a list of commonalities of things. What you're going to get, but then what we want is you'll find someone on the podcast, like an episode that you relate to that person and the stories they're telling, you go, holy shit, that's me. And what you want to do is you want to listen, like I said, we said last week, are we keeping you up?
Yeah, big couple of days.
Oh, yeah. We said big day, big night, big day.
Big week on McGee, mate.
So what we're saying is that you're going to get people that give you really good advice. You're going to get people that give you shit advice. The same person give you shit and good advice. We're just trying to collate a list of things that you might be
just the common denominator.
Yeah, just the common denominators, but also give you some traits and things like the mindset switches, so you can identify earlier on when that happens.
I think culturally that'll change too. I think what happens.
We're in the information era,
Yeah, and I just think as well, like when you're younger, like being of Aussie background and stuff like that, the cultural divide in what you're to do with your money as an Aussie, as opposed to, well, anyone multicultural really, everyone's got a different perspective on money. But what's common in regards to all these cultures eventually is it's always the same shit. The people who are successful will tell you there's fundamentals behind their success. Generally, we might not have got there the same way, but the reasonings behind why you went well with hard work and consistency is massive. That's one of the ones where I feel like my mum always told me you got to be consistent. You got to go to work. You got to stay at work. You got to focus on becoming better in life. And if you can focus on that, then your whole life will get better. And it's been consistent. Now, if you look at that across anything, it's a pretty simple thing to say to someone. But if you look at it across the gym, eating habits, you look at saving.
We came from a generation of hard workers, bro. And I think what I want to push on the people, what I'm trying to do is take that. Like most people, there are lazy fucks out there, don't get me wrong, but the people that we speak to, people watching this are mostly hustlers, right? They grew up, the generation before us are hard workers. We want to try and take people to the hard work and then capitalize on that with smart work, because I hustled for 10 years, right? More, 15. I started working at 12, making good money at 14. I didn't go to schoolies. When everyone else went to schools, I stayed.
I went to schoolies.
No, but the next question we've got on here is when did that mindset shift, right? And this is what I want to get at because I've had multiple, like that story about the toy, right? So that was the first time mum offered me, I went with a toy, right? I went with the toy that time. I was about 11 or whatever. Within a week, I was like, I'm over this toy. I wish I took the money. And from that day on, my hustle mindset started. I started taking the cash, right? By the time I was 13, I instead of whatever, I bought a bloody a queen bed for myself, because that's a mature decision at fucking 12 or 13 years old. Like I was like, I want a big fucking bed, It's like land, nah. But
I want somewhere. I want a big space to hide the tissues.
The leg spread. But I did that, and then throughout there was all these other mindset shifts. But then one of the big mindset shifts was me back the other way, sort of thing. Because like I said, I saw mum, and I saw dad, and I saw money was control, and like I was the kid that would go out parties and I'd shout at everyone. Go to lunch, I'd shout at everyone. From 14 on, I had cash, right? Like you're talking 3 to 5 grand in the bank account at 14. That's a lot of money. Like I was rolling, right? But then when schoolies came around, everyone went to schoolies. And I was so hung up on cash, I went, nah, I'll steal all their shit. So I didn't go to school and I took all their shit and I was rolling in it, bro. Like I was making bank. And then they all got back and none of them had jobs because I was taking their shit. But then that was mad for a while. And then I went from there to lollipopping. I was a lollipop man. And I was making coin. Like I was making bank doing that.
That's good coin, eh?
Yeah, good coin. I was spending
on the stop go, but
I was spending about $1,000 a week on clothes and like on shit, like just clothes really. And I was still racking. I'd probably in 3-4 weeks I had like $15,000 in the bank. Like I couldn't spend it. Like it was fucking mad.
Yeah.
But where my mind shift stage is a few years after schoolies, everyone talking about their stuff like, and that's when I started partying. Because I wasn't a party, I was a trainer. I'd go to the gym. I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. Nothing. Like as a kid, like from 16 to 20, I fucking barely drank.
I don't remember anything from 16
Never touched a
zero.
cigarette. Never touched a drug until I got on the juice. But I didn't touch it. Didn't do anything, and I just worked. It was just work. I just wanted to like clean. And I got to about 17 or 18, and I thought when I started partying, like when I hit 18, and I actually started going out. I went, fuck. Like this is fun. Like this is my heyday years, and that's why I look back and went,
is it? But
what?
Do you reckon that 18, 19, 20 is your heyday?
No, partying. Like when you first go to the nightclub and shit.
25, 26.
No, for me, the nightclub, that was fresh. That was fresh.
I remember now, I look back.
My partying stamina got up around the 25, 26.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember I look back at like I'd been partying a couple of years when I turned 18. And then by the time I was 18 or 19, the whole Western Sydney club scene was fucking old to me. And I was like, I'd got to get in the city. But bro, I don't know. I don't reckon 18 or 19 to me.
Central Coast was mad.
But see, that's, you know what? Yeah, at 18 or 19, 20, that's where the best partying was for me. We used to go to Iguana Joe's, Lily Coy. Sundays at Iguana Joe's, bro. We used to drive up on a Sunday, and there'd be 4 blokes sleeping in the car Monday morning. Supposed to be at work.
Yeah, so because we ran like Central Coast was a small enough town that if you're in the clique, you could run the crew. Like we ran like. I was never the head of the fuck whatever, but I could, we skipped the lines and do all that bullshit, right? And you had your own place and got free drinks and stuff. So we did that, and it was big enough though that it was a bit of a city scene. Like it was big enough that you could go to multiple clubs and, the city.
End up at Pulse.
Oh, never. Not until I was at 21.
Bro, that place. As soon as I hear that name, I just feel like my feet are stuck to the floor.
Yeah, it's gross. The Christmas tree lights they got. But it's actually not bad now. But we used to go up there and like you go up there and the Sydney guys would come up and you kick them out. Like it was, so our party.
Never kicked me out, bro. None of you motherfuckers ever kicked us out.
You stomped out a few motherfuckers. I remember the one that got me the most was Scotty Prince. One of the biggest dudes. They come up after a game and they went out and one of the biggest dudes on the coast. I won't mention his name, but he's a fucking animal. He could beat and he could bang. And Scotty Prince scrapped with him, and there was no win. Like everyone just went. And Scotty Prince was half his bloke's size. He's
a little dude, eh?
Right, and he threw hands.
He's like little Corey fella, Scotty Prince. He is, yeah.
But he threw hands, got a tiny little lift. Yeah,
he does.
But he's a real nice guy, and this guy just put it on him, and he threw hands, and this guy was probably twice his size.
I had a run in at the Beery with this dude, this big. There was brothers. One of them got shot, bro. Over in
I love Hayward. They're legends.
Well, I had a running. They were big motherfuckers, eh?
They were the biggest on the
big dude.
And he was a good boxer too, Chris. But Cade's my mate. Cade's the younger brother, and they're like
good name.
Yeah, Cade. He's a gun.
Good name. All right, let's get back into it. All right, so you touched on when did you change your mindset? You were saying it's between sort of the 11 and.
Well, no, that was the first one, but the second one was that whole schoolie scene. Looking back, like. I don't regret it, not doing it, but I thought I was too focused one way. And so I started twisting back the other way again. And that's where I started. And then what happened, I went from being this real savings motherfucker, like I'd rather save than I thought money was king. And then I started earning really good money in the lollipop ring. And but because I was on that, I had the balance. Because I earned enough, I had the balance. And I had the balance and I was living my life very well, but I was saving and doing stuff. Like I had coins. So then I joined the army. But I had the habits of the big coin without the big coin. You earn a lot of money in the army, right? And that's where I had to start dialing and changing. And to be honest,
what was the reasoning behind leaving that type of job? Like that's a big money job.
No, well, that was a job. That was a gap job. So I joined the army from when I left school.
And then found the gap job, and then
No, well, I had a kidney disease and had to go through all this shit, like 2 years of entrance to get in. So I just did that in the meantime until I got in, and then I got in.
yeah.
But yeah, went up
And
there.
we're talking what type of money we talking? Like, where you talking? You're on average with the rest of Australia, or you're less? Or
For who? Army.
yeah.
Oh, you join, you're on like 40K a year as a recruit.
And that's so. Like, what's your job? What's your role?
I was an infantry soldier, so front, just on the front line. But we when you go through recruit, the first 3 months I think I was on about 40K, and you don't spend none of it because you're getting your ass reamed out. And it's not tax free. Anyone thinks that you only get tax free when you do more than 3 months.
Yeah, but it's less tax, yeah.
Nope. Same thing. Everyone gets taxed the same. If you get taxed, you get taxed.
19%.
Hey?
19%.
That's for the first tier. Everyone's tax works the same, tiered wise.
Yeah.
You only get tax free in the army when you deploy for longer than 3 months in active war. Everything else is the exact same. You just get bigger benefits. So like you go from 40K, then I think I went to like 45, and then you go to Townsville, so you get a hardship allowance for being in a rural area, an extra 10K a year. You get all these little benefits. By the time I finished, I was a corporal. So 2014, 15, I was a corporal, and I think I was on about 75 to 80, all inclusive. You know, you get 14.5% super, all inclusive, and that was with going field a fair bit because you get a bit extra when you go out field, and on the boats when you go out on the ships. So I think but that took me 4 years to get to, and 2 promotions. So I went from, to be honest, I probably went from, I was making $3,000 a week. $3,000 a week as a fucking 17, 18-year-old down to $700-800 net.
Which that's hard. That's a decent drop. Like that's like being an NRL player and going back and working on the tools.
It didn't struggle at the start because I couldn't spend it. As soon as I got back to Townsville though, and at the start I saved heaps of money, and I was doing some other things that I made some good money. And then I was saving heaps of coins, but I wasn't spending it because I didn't know the place. But then when I started partying, clubbing,
and you pick it up,
yeah, I started getting whatever. I started buying clothes and stuff like that. So my mind switched, but then I had to switch it again, and that didn't come until I met Gemma.
So she's the why, or she's the when?
Nah,
a bit of both, yeah. So
yeah, a bit of both. When we got together, I was still spending big, and then I left the army, had a shoulder reco, left the army, started selling insurance, and I was making like back to like $5-6 grand a week selling insurance.
So when we talk about that, because that was my why, was my family and me missus and stuff like that, and I think it's important to let everyone know that you don't have to wait for that to happen.
No, you don't, not at all.
Which is a big thing for you and I, because I think
they're catalysts, and what we're trying to provide is another catalyst that happens earlier.
Yeah, I think to wait for someone else to make an impression on you before you decide to care about what's going on in your life, it's not a good thing.
Me, Gemma and I have gone through this recently. Like I've seen a psych for a long time, just from a maintenance point of view, and one of the big things I find with all my bad habits that I've worked on, I was always using external forces. For my mental health, my physical health, for my financial health, everything, I was always using external forces, either my reasoning or my excuse. The moment you get rid of that, in any one of those 3 areas, the moment that you stop utilizing, for positive and negative, using external forces on those factors, the moment shit changes and you become internal control.
Yeah. I've never heard it put like that before, but that makes a lot of sense
to
me. I think it's going to be hard for a lot of people to resonate with